Hi, friends. Looking at skills, Unit 6, Lesson 2 today, where we are going to be looking at identifying different genres of nonfiction, along with practicing some review words for that PH spelling that makes the F sound. Okay. Let's do a quick review of the sound spelled with PH. That's workbook activity page 2.2. Activity page 2.2, which is page 11. And I'll quick show that to you here. If you look at the directions, it says, do the bolded letters stand for the same sound? Yes or no? And I've done the first two for you. So if you look at the first word, we have trophy and funny. And they want to know, do you hear the same sound for the PH and the F? Trophy and funny. And I say, yes, I do hear the same sound. Number two, we have KN saying N as in knock. And then we have K as in kettle. So we have knock and kettle. Those do not have the same sound, so I check no. You also have a back side to this page. And on the back, you're just going to use the words to fill in the sentences as best you can. I'm going to read these for you. We have gopher, trophy, graph, paragraph. Those are all PH saying F. And then we have right, wrap, wrist, and wren. That's WR saying the sound. And then we have knee and knife. KN making the N sound. So go ahead and pause the video right now and you can fill in these two sides of this worksheet. Okay, and then come back and we'll start the second part. All right, looking at the next section of our activities, we are going to look at grouping books and texts into two different categories. Okay, so when we talk about categories, we're talking about genres, kind of a fancy word. And you can have a fiction genre or a nonfiction genre. If you have a fiction genre, that means that it is a made up story. Okay, it's imaginary in some way. This is the Little Mermaid or the Princess and the Pea. Lots of times these are fairy tales. They have once upon a time in them. Fiction books are made up stories. They have a character or characters. There are settings and there are plots that have to be created by the author. And those three elements are called story structure. And all fiction genres have a story structure with those three elements. They also usually incorporate elements that could be real. So I really could go on a trip to the mountains and see a bear and have it chase me. That really could happen. Not likely for me, but it could happen. The other genre that we're going to be focusing on today is nonfiction. And a nonfiction story is a story that is true, meaning it's something that really happened. Okay, something that really happened. Nonfiction books typically include facts and information about real life things. People read nonfiction books when they want to learn about a specific topic or a specific person. So this makes me think of Bowen. Bowen loves tornadoes and storm chasers. That would be a nonfiction book, learning about tornadoes, learning about storm chasers. That is a real life job. People actually do that. Okay. In our knowledge lessons, we have listened to fiction stories and nonfiction stories. And here's some examples of those. When we were talking about fiction stories, remember we had the fairy tales and tall tales. So we had, let me think, the fisherman and his wife, and we had Paul Bunyan, and we had, what was the other one? Oh, Pecos Bill. Those were tall tales and fairy tales. And then we had our whole section on Greek mythology. Those were all fiction. Remember, a lot of those things were trying to explain something that really happened, something that happened in real life. So when we talk about Greek myths and falling in love is something that really happens. However, in Greek mythology, they have a goddess of love, and she's responsible for that. So based on a real idea, or real emotion, but not a true story. When we talk about nonfiction, our very first unit was on ancient Greek civilizations, also Chinese civilizations. That was a nonfiction as well. We just finished up the US Civil War. That was nonfiction. It was giving you facts. And then we are currently starting Cycles in Nature this week. And then we will hopefully get to the next one, which is insects. And those are all nonfiction. They're going to give you information. So there are specific kinds of nonfiction, and I want to go through those real quick. History is one example. So a nonfiction book that tells about events that happened in the past is history. Okay. And when we talk about history, we're talking about things that happened in the past. So what we're going through right now, the coronavirus or COVID-19, eventually kids will read about this in history books and they will learn about what it was like to live during this time, which is something you're experiencing right now. There's also nonfiction books called biographies, and a biography is a particular type of history book. It usually tells about the past, but it focuses on a specific person's life. We read in Epic, I believe, I assigned the biography of Abraham Lincoln, and there also may have been one about Harriet Tubman as well. So it tells about who they were back then. It tells about their history, and it may be even about a person who is still alive today. LeBron James, for example, there might be a biography about him, and he still lives today. So it's telling about his life, probably when his life first began, and kind of telling up to this point. There's also nonfiction books about science. Those typically tell us about facts on a particular topic. So you see examples here: rock facts, facts about the moon or the earth. When we're talking about nature cycles in our knowledge unit this week, we're going to be learning about cycles in nature, whether that be a life cycle or a daytime, nighttime cycle. Okay, giving us particular facts. Atlas, I didn't get a chance to show you an atlas, which makes me kind of sad. But an atlas is called a reference book. And it's filled with facts and information about things in the world, typically. Okay, things that are happening in the world. It might be about agriculture and farming. It might be about temperature and climate. So that's typically what an atlas has in it. And then most of you are familiar with newspapers. I don't know if you've ever actually read one or not, but you know that they exist. And newspapers don't look like regular books. They don't even open like regular books. You have to unfold them first, and then you can read through them. They are typically printed on kind of a thin type of paper, just in black and white, although a lot of them have color now. And newspapers have articles about things that are taking place now. So what is currently happening in the life around you. These articles are nonfiction, which means they tell about things that are happening currently. Okay, things that you might see on the news. All right, let me come down here. Magazines. I know you all know magazines because I've seen you read them before. Scholastic has a magazine. You may have heard Sports Illustrated has a magazine if you're into sports. There's hunting magazines. And magazines are nonfiction usually because they have some content in them, some sort of true information, but they also may mix in some fictional stories in there. So magazines, you have to kind of be careful whether you're looking for a fact-based article or a made-up story. Okay. Websites are also a great place where you can find information on non-fiction topics, so things that give you real facts. And then your assignment for today is to go ahead and find any type of nonfiction text that you are interested in. So it could be a magazine, it could be a newspaper, it could be a book. And when you're finished, I want you to jump onto Seesaw and tell me about it. So you can just record yourself just telling me a story or telling me the summary of your story, or you can actually type it out and put it in that way, because I know some of you don't feel comfortable on camera. So either of those choices are fine. Okay. All right. I think that's it for today's lesson.